Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, if you absolutely insist, you can cancel your service earlier. You now owe us 10 times as much. Want us to get approval before we do anything? You got it. Owner's sister told me to leave, so I did. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. If you absolutely insist, you can cancel your service earlier. You now owe us 10 times as much. Disclaimer: I work at an undisclosed insurance company, not health insurance. All identifying or private information about employer, customer, myself, etc. has been removed to protect the innocent, guilty, myself, my employer, etc. Any opinion expressed is my own private opinion, not the opinion of, or endorsed by, my employer, or any individual or company affiliated with them, me, the customer, etc. No details are embellished. Anyone that knows insurance knows it is an insanely regulated industry. Imagine your employer getting fined because you said A instead of the. It has happened. I work primarily on the phones doing various customer service work. In my position, most of the job, 85 to 90%, is helping people. The rest tends to be trying to protect customer from themselves. You don't really want them to cause themselves harm, but cannot always prevent it. Hashtag the customer is not always right. Players. Customer, me, policy. Customer calls very upset, you could say totally irate, because we cancelled his policy. This was a new policy, and it turned out the house did not pass inspection. The outside was bad enough that we just could not cover it without repairs. I think it was missing a lot of siding on one side or something like that. Few companies want to cover a house missing even a few pieces of siding/shingle/ etc. because of increased risk of loss, etc. It was certainly something that could have been corrected within a week or two with any serious effort or calling a siding company, and he had something like a month to provide proof of repairs. He was also upset because the cancellation, with its future effective date, meant we had earned $10 to $15 more than he had already paid us, so he had a bill to pay over a policy that he already knew was ending. He then decided he wasn't going to provide pictures of the repairs to save the policy. I think he got another carrier to issue a policy on the house just before calling. He absolutely did not, however, want any record reflecting that an insurance company had cancelled a policy on him. I think he was more upset that we cancelled the policy than the fact that we could not cover the house in that condition. So the customer absolutely demands that I reinstate the policy and cancel it on an earlier date at his request, a totally legit request. It absolutely had to say that he cancelled it, not us. He does not want to even give me a chance to explain the circumstances, look at the policy, or go over options with him. He also does not give me the chance to explain how this could backfire on him. He absolutely insists. I assure him that I will do exactly what he requires. What happens next isn't because he pissed me off. It is because he gave me no choice. I reinstate the policy from our cancellation. I then cancel the policy effective his newly requested, earlier date. As soon as click to issue the new cancellation, it is too late to go back. He has just forced us to move from a penalty-free company requested cancellation, which he thinks is bad, to a customer requested cancellation. His backfire is the policy has minimum earned premium, an amount the company has earned if we cover the property at all. Not only is it not met, it's quite a bit short. His cancellation bill now goes from around $10 to $15 up to the $165 to $195 range, because the cancellation was his choice and not ours. And it is all locked in by law. We cannot turn that back to the direct cancellation with the lower bill for any reason. We cannot waive the amount due. We must bill him, and we must make every effort to collect. I've never looked to see if he actually paid the bill. Not my business, and nothing I could do about it anyway. I do know that his insistence on what he wanted me to do hurt him financially in the short term and/or in the long term. In my industry, you cannot save people from themselves no matter how hard you try. If they demand that you hurt them in a way you are legally allowed to do, you are required to comply. Want us to get approval before we do anything? You got it. I work at an animal hospital. One of our policies is that we must get a deposit equal to the amount of the low end of an estimate given to owners who drop off their pet. An example of this would be collecting money for an exam fee, but not for possible diagnostics, treatments, or medications. If the amount we collect is more than the services we actually charge, we obviously refund you the money. This has been our policy for as long as I've been working here, over 3 years. I think it's plenty reasonable. Apparently not. A woman came in wanting to drop off her cat with a swollen back foot. The receptionist asks for the deposit like she did with the other 3 drop-offs before this particular woman. She lost her mind, saying she's been coming here for years and you can check my credit score. I'll obviously pay my bill, and my personal favorite, I know Dr. No Name, and he never makes me do this. Our receptionist handled it phenomenally. In the end, the woman left a credit card with us as a sign of good faith, but demanded we not do anything until she approves what is about to be done. Cue malicious compliance. The receptionist informs me, the technician, of what happened, and I smiled. I looked at my assistant and said, let's take the cat out. But hold on until I call the owner. I call her about 5 minutes after she left and told her we were about to weigh her cat, free of charge of course. She thanks me and hangs up. Another minute later, I call again to tell the owner we were about to get a rectal temperature on her cat, again, free of charge. I hear less pleasant thank you and click. Every 5 or 6 minutes I call the owner informing her about something we were about to do with her cat. Giving it water, monitoring her paw, loving on her, and changing her blanket. This all takes during the morning surgeries. The owner's acknowledgement and tolerance getting short and annoyed with every call. But before I hung up every time, I told her the doctor would call her soon to let her know what course of treatment was needed for her cat. When the doctor did finally contact the owner, and said the conversation was curt and cold. I don't know if she understood what I was doing, or if my persistent calling was taken as us treating her and her cat special. She came to pick her cat up all chipper like nothing happened. At the end of the day, I hope she realized how ridiculous she was, but I probably ended up reinforcing her nasty attitude to get what she wants. Owner's sister told me to leave, so I did. This happened ages ago, but it's definitely one of the most satisfying ways I've left a job. After high school, I had a 6-month gap before starting college. The timing just happened to work out that way. I got a full-time job at an Italian family bakery/coffee bar, doing typical front of the house, FOH, stuff, making real espressos and cappuccinos, ringing up customers, taking orders, etc. There were about 6 FOH employees, but since I was the only one over 18 and out of high school, I was given the opening shift, usually being the only one in the front for the first few slow hours, with just a few bakers in the back. My bosses, a married couple, were not very present. The husband would rarely show up and the wife wasn't much better. The husband's single, childless 60-ish-year-old sister, Sylvia, would roll in around 10 a.m. most days and work, but mostly just tell me what needed to be done. We got along great at first, but everyone knew I was headed off to college in a few months and wouldn't be stuck in the same place for the rest of my life, like she was. Sylvia started getting very snippy and sarcastic with me, and would read me the riot act if I didn't do something exactly the way she wanted. I couldn't do anything to her satisfaction, and she criticized everything I did. Even though we pretty much had the same job descriptions, and she was never specified as my official manager, she acted like she was the owner whenever her brother wasn't around. The owner's teenage son would put on the same airs when he sporadically worked there. It was mostly when he wanted them to buy him something outrageous, and they made him earn it. Their entitled behavior knew no bounds and stopped just short of pocketing money directly from the register, if you need a frame of reference. The last straw was when I was taking an order for a dozen French rolls. For those of you who don't know, French bread is only made with flour, water, salt, and yeast. Ours came out shaped kind of like footballs, and Sylvia insisted on calling them football rolls, even though they weren't called that on our menu. I didn't call them that because the first few times I did, the customers then asked what kind of bread it was. When I called it a French roll, they knew what kind of bread they were getting. So, I took the order and go into the kitchen to give them their copy. This is back when we used carbon copies. I came back out to the front and Sylvia proceeded to lecture me on how they're football rolls, not French rolls, and how I'll confuse the Hispanic workers because they don't know English very well. When she'd finished her rant, I told her they've understood the orders perfectly the whole time I've worked here. And they're French rolls because they're made of French bread, like it says on the menu. She continued to berate me for insubordination and ended with an ultimatum: either I call them football rolls or just leave. So I left. It seems like a stupid hill to die on, but dealing with her attitude was making me miserable, and I couldn't resist the out she gave me. I called the wife and explained to her what happened and why I wouldn't be back. She accepted it with a resigned sorry to see you go, you're not the first, and you won't be the last one who leaves this way attitude. I got a job at a Barnes & Noble for a few months, the employee discount at Christmas was serendipity, and left for school. Last I heard, they were closed, but had sold the bakery name, so some random bakery 5 towns over has the same name. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.